So in today's lecture, we'll be discussing a few numericals related to electrostatic potential and potential energy. So to start with the first question, okay, there are 2 point charges, 5 and into 10 power minus 8 and minus 3 into 10 power minus 8, which are located 16 centimeter apart. And they are asking you at what points on the line joining the 2 charges is the electrostatic potential 0. So the meaning of points here is there is more than one point where potential will become 0. So we know potential is a scalar quantity. If the 2 charges are positive, there is no point where potential becomes 0 because sum of 2 positive values will never become 0. But since we have one positive and one negative charge, there lies 2 points, one inside the system and another outside, where potential may become 0. So assume that this is a charge Q1 and this charge I will write it as Q2. Magnitudes are already given. They are separated by a distance of, it's given as 16 centimeter. Okay, now we need to find the points where potential is 0. So first select one point inside the line, inside these 2 charges, within the 2 charges. Let this distance be x. The remaining distance would be 16 minus x. I am leaving it in centimeters. So if suppose potential at this point is 0, I will take potential due to Q1 should become equal to potential due to Q2, or potential due to Q1 plus potential due to Q2, sum should become 0. And we know electrostatic potential due to a point charge is kq by r. So k into 5 into 10 power minus 8 by the distance I took it as x plus k into the other charge is minus 3 into 10 power minus 8. Remaining distance is 16 minus x should become 0. So simplify this. K will anyway go to 0. So 5 by x should be 3 by 16 minus x implies 16 minus x into 5 should be 3x, or 80 is equal to 8x implies x is equal to 10 centimeter. So at a distance of 10 centimeter from 5 into 10 power minus 8 coulomb, potential will become 0. Now there is one more point where potential is 0, and that point should be selected close to a charge of smaller magnitude. See, one is 5 and the other one is minus 3. If you take only the magnitude, 3 is less when compared to 5. So there is another point along the line joining the centers but outside the system where potential is 0. Now I will take this distance as x dash. Now we need to find this x dash also. To get x dash, I will take potential due to Q2 as well as potential due to Q1. So potential due to Q1 is k into 5 into 10 power minus 8. But distance of Q1 till this particular point is 16 plus x dash should be equal to potential due to the negative charge k into 3 into 10 power minus 8 divided by the distance from Q2 to this point is x dash. Simplify this again. 5x dash would be 3 into 16 plus x dash, or 5x dash minus 3x dash is 16 into 3, that is 48. So we will get x dash as 48 by 2, okay, which is nothing but 24 centimeter, but be specific from Q2, that is minus 3 into 10 to the power minus 8 coulomb. Okay, so this would be the second answer. Okay, if you want to measure x dash from Q1, you can add the value. It would be 16 plus 24, that will become 40 centimeter if you take both the distances as measured from Q1. Otherwise, you can write it as x equal to 10 centimeter and x dash is 24, but from minus 3 into 10 power minus 8 coulomb. This question, it is given that a cube of side B has a charge q at each of its vertices, and you need to determine electrostatic potential as well as field at the center. And we know if it is a cube, we have 8 vertices. At each vertex we have a charge q. All the charges are positive. Since all the charges are positive, electric field at the center of the cube will be 0, because field produced by one charge, say if it is produced by this charge, it gets cancelled by the other. Field produced by this corner charge will be cancelled by the opposite corner. So the first bit, electric field at center would anyway be 0. But potential is a scalar, it won't become 0. So potential at center would be potential due to all the charges. So first we need to find the distance of the center of the cube from each corner. Okay, we know if the side of the cube is small a, it's given as b here, small b, then distance from center to vertex would be root 3 by 2 times the side, that is nothing but b. And now coming back to potential, because we have 8 charges at each vertices, all the charges put together, 8 times of kq by small r, or v is equal to 8 into k, I am writing 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, charge at each corner is q, and this distance is root 3b by 2. Okay, so that would become 4q by pi epsilon naught b into root 3. Okay, so this gives you the electrostatic potential at the center of the cube. Okay, now coming to this question, large number of charges, say a charge plus q is placed each at points x equal to x naught, 3x naught, 5x naught along x-axis. Assume this is x-axis. At x equal to x naught, you have a charge q. 2x naught we do not know now. Again at 3x naught you have a charge q. Next 5x naught you have a charge q, and so on. It's continuing. And at 2x naught and 4x naught, they are giving you a negative charge. So minus q, and it continues. Then we need to find potential at origin at this particular point. We know potential is a scalar. So I'll find the potential at origin due to all these charges. Due to a positive charge, potential is positive. For negative charge, potential is negative. So if I write the total potential at the point O, for positive charge it is kq by x naught minus kq by 2x naught plus kq by 3x naught minus kq by 4x naught, and this series is going to continue. Then when you take out this k by x naught common into q also common, we get 1 minus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 minus 1 by 4 plus 1 by 5, and the series continues. And we know this is an expansion for log 2. So we can write potential at the point O as kq by x naught, where k is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, into log 2. Okay, that's nothing but 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q log 2 natural logarithm divided by x naught. Coming to this question, here a charge q is uniformly distributed on this rod whose length is L, and they are asking you to find the potential at O, which is again at a distance L from one end of the rod. And we know potential is a scalar. So to get the potential, take a small element, charge on this is dq, whose length is dx, and it is at a distance x from the point O. So potential due to this small charge is k into dq divided by distance. Now you can replace this dq because total charge is q on length L. Total charge by total length, linear charge density, should be small charge by small length, that is dx. So replace dq as k is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by L into dx divided by x. So dV is equal to K Q by L into dx by x. And to get the total potential, we need to integrate the relation. And if your lower limit is L, upper limit is 2L. This is x equal to L and x equal to 2L. Limits are from L to 2L. So V equals to KQ by L. Integral of 1 by x is log x. And your limits are from L to 2L. For potential at the point O is KQ by L log 2L minus log L, which can be written as log A by B, that is KQ by L. Log 2L by L is nothing but log 2. Okay, so this would be the answer for electrostatic potential at the point O. Now in this question, they are giving you two thin rings, each of a radius capital R, which are placed at a distance small d apart. And one of them is given a charge plus Q, another ring is given a charge minus Q, and we need to find the potential difference between their centers. See, for continuous charge distributions, we have already studied what is potential on axial line of a ring and at the center of a ring. Assume these are the two identical rings. Radius is R and R, and the distance between them is small d. First ring, if you are giving a positive charge, this is having a negative charge. I'll find potential at A as well as potential at B. So to find potential at A, we need to find two terms, potential due to Q and potential due to minus Q. Potential at the center of the ring is given by KQ by small r, capital R. Due to negative charge, this is an axial line for it. We know potential on axial line is KQ by under root R square plus x square. Here x is equal to d. Call this as equation 1. Similarly, find potential at B. This point is B. Potential due to this positive charge is K into Q, positive potential, on axial line under root R square plus d square. And potential due to minus Q is minus KQ divided by capital R. Call this as equation 2. And they are asking you to find the potential difference. So we will subtract the two relations, VA minus VB. Would be, this becomes minus and this will be plus, KQ by R and KQ by R, it will be 2 times of KQ by R minus, again these two terms are similar, KQ by under root R square plus d square. If you want, you can replace K as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught or leave the answer. So this gives you the potential difference between the points A and B. So in this question, it is said that there are n small drops of same size charged to a potential V, and all of them coalesce to form a single drop. Then what will be the potential? So assume that all of them are conducting droplets. Each one is having a potential V. Now you are combining them to form a bigger drop. Okay, we know the relationship between their volumes. N times the volume of the smaller sphere, 4 by 3 pi small r cube, should be equal to volume of the bigger sphere, 4 by 3 pi capital R cube, implies capital R is n to the power 1 by 3 into small r. Call this as equation 1. Now potential of the smaller drop, we can write it as KQ by small r. Call this as equation 2. Then potential of this bigger drop would be K into total charge on the sphere, that is n into Q, because n drops each having a charge Q are combined. Total charge will become n into Q divided by its radius, that is capital R. And when I replace it, kq into small n by, remove capital R is n power 1 by 3 into small r into n power 1 by 3. This is nothing but small v, that is v into n power 1 by n to the power 1 by 3 will be n to the power 2 by 3. 1 minus 1 by 3, that's 2 by 3. So the potential of the bigger drop v dash would be v into n to the power 2 by 3. So here two conducting spheres of different radii are given. It's given that one has a radius small a and the other has a radius small b, and they are connected by a wire. Then what is the ratio of electric field at the surface of the two spheres? And since the two spheres are of different radius and you are connecting them by a wire, charge will transfer from one sphere to another until their potentials become equal. Suppose this is a sphere whose radius is small a, another one I will take it as small b. So when you connect them by a conducting wire, then it results in the distribution of charge such that potential of the first sphere becomes equal to potential of second. So after connecting, let us suppose the charges are q1 and q2. Now we are removing the wire. I'll equate the potentials. K into q1 by small a becomes equal to k into q2 divided by b, or implies q1 by q2 is equal to a divided by b. Call this as equation 1. But the question is, they are asking you to find out the ratio of their electric fields on the surface. We know for all conducting spheres charge resides on the surface. Electric field is given by sigma by epsilon naught. So for the first sphere it will be sigma 1 by epsilon naught, where sigma is charge per unit area, that's q1 by 4 pi a square into epsilon naught. Whereas electric field due to the second sphere would be sigma 2 by epsilon naught. Sigma is charge per unit area, again q2 by 4 pi b square into epsilon naught. Compare the two relations, that means divide both of them. Okay, we'll get E1 by E2 as q1 by q2 into b square divided by a square. And since we already have q1 by q2 as a by b, 1a and b gets cancelled. We are left with b by e. So this gives you the ratio of electric fields of these two spheres after connecting them by a wire. Now in this question we are given two conducting spheres of different radii. One is of radius 5 cm, another is of radius 10 cm, and they are given a charge 50 and 40 microcoulomb. Okay, so I will take the radii. One is a smaller one, 5 cm. Second one has a radius of 10 cm. This is given a charge 50 microcoulomb, and the second sphere is given a charge 40 microcoulomb. Find the amount of charge transferred when they are connected by a wire. So we know charge will always transfer from a high potential to low potential. Okay, I repeat, a positive charge always tries to move from a region of high potential to a region of low potential. So before connecting, let us see what is the potential of the first sphere and potential of second. We know potential is kq by r for spherical conductors. K, I am not converting the unit, charge is 50, radius is 5, which is 50 by 5, 10 times of k, some proportionality. Whereas for the second sphere it is k into 40 by 10, which is proportional to 4k. Okay, I didn't convert the unit, it is only for checking. So V1 is having 10 times of a constant, V2 is having a potential 4 times a constant, implies V1 is greater than V2. So therefore, when you connect them, smaller one is going to lose a charge, say Q. This is going to gain a charge Q, such that charge transfer occurs until their potentials become equal. Now I will equate the potentials. After connecting, since charge is transferred from one sphere to another until their potentials become equal, potential of smaller sphere becomes equal to potential of bigger. Now the charge on it is 50 minus q by 5 should become equal to 40 plus q divided by 10, or 50 minus q is 40 plus q divided by 2, cross multiply, 100 minus 2q should be 40 plus q, implies 60 is equal to 3q, or q is equal to 20 microcoulomb. So this much of charge is transferred from smaller to bigger. Okay, you can write the answer. 20 microcoulomb is transferred from where to where? From smaller sphere to the bigger sphere. Okay, so this would be the answer. Okay, coming to this question, it's given that there are 2 points P and Q which are maintained at 10 volts and minus 4 volts, and you need to find the work done in moving 100 electrons from P to Q. So to calculate the work done, we know work done is equal to potential difference into the charge which you are moving. So first let's calculate this value of capital Q. Charge of 100 electrons, 100 into, we know charge of 1 electron is minus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. So Q is negative, it's minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 17 coulomb. And now calculate the work done. Since you are moving it from P to Q, final potential minus initial potential Vp into the charge which you are moving. I repeat, Vq minus Vp multiplied with the charge which you are moving will give you the work done. So Vp is given as 10 and potential at Q is given as minus 4. Substitute the values. Minus 4 minus 10 into minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 17. That will be minus 14 into minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 17 joules. Both minus signs will become plus. So 14 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 17 joules. Okay, multiply this. 16 fours, 64. 22.4 into 10 to the power minus 17 joules. Okay, so this would be the answer. So in this question, it is given that there are 3 charges plus Q, capital Q, small q and minus q, which are at the vertices of a right isosceles triangle. And it is said that the net electrostatic potential energy of the system is 0. Then we need to find the value of capital Q. So since it's a right isosceles triangle, if this distance is A, even this side would be A, and hypotenuse is root 2 times of A. And we know for a system of 3 charges, we write potential energy as potential energy stored between first and second, plus between first and third, then between second and third. I'll number them 1, 2 and 3. And this sum has to become 0. So coming to potential energy between first and second charges, so it's K, Q1, Q2 by R. Q1 is minus and Q2 is plus Q. So it would be minus Q square divided by A. Now between 1 and 3, that is Q and minus Q, again minus sign, K Q into Q divided by distance is A. And between 1 and 3, that is between capital Q and plus Q, we get potential energy positive, K into capital Q into small q divided by root 2A should become 0. So take out K, Q by A common in all the terms. K, small q and A will be lost. We are left with minus Q minus capital Q plus capital Q divided by root 2 should be 0. Implies q into 1 by root 2 minus 1 is equal to small q, or capital Q is equal to small q by 1 by root 2 minus 1. Okay, so this would be the value of capital Q in terms of small q. Now in this question, there are two charges Q1 and Q2. This is Q1 and Q2 separated by 30 centimeter distance, and a third charge Q3, okay, which is 40 centimeter from Q1 initially, is brought along this curve and placed along the same straight line. And for this arrangement, they are asking you to find out what is the change in potential energy of the system. And we know that for all conservative forces, potential energy only depends on the change in potential energy depends on initial and final positions, but not on the path followed. Okay, whatever path you follow, we will only consider initial and final potential energies of the system. So let us see what is the initial potential energy of the system. Initial potential energy before bringing this Q3 into a linear position. Energy between Q1 and Q2. Again we have three terms. Between Q1 and Q2, Q1 and Q3, Q2 and Q3. Okay, so join this hypotenuse. Since this is 30 and 40, hypotenuse would be 50 centimeter. Now find out the potential energy for the initial triangular arrangement between 1 and 2. It is K, Q1, Q2 by distance 30 centimeter, I will write it as 0.3 meter, plus between 1 and 3 potential energy is K, Q1, Q3 by 0.4, and between 2 and 3 it is K, Q2, Q3 by 0.5. Call this as equation 1. Then final potential energy for linear arrangement between 1 and 2, K, Q1, Q2 by 0.3. Between 1 and 3, because it's brought along the arc of a circle, this distance would be 10 centimeter. So plus Q1, Q3, distance between 1 and 3 would be 30 plus 10, that is 40, 0.4 centimeter, 0.4 meter, plus K between 2 and 3, Q2, Q3 divided by distance between 2 and 3 is 10 centimeter, so 0.1 meter. Call this as equation 2. So the question is to find the change in potential energy. So change in potential energy is U final minus U initial. Okay, so when you subtract this, first term and second term will be lost because both are identical. So we are only left with these two values, that is K, Q2, Q3 if you take out common, 1 by 0.1 minus 1 by 0.5, or where K is 4 pi epsilon naught, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into, simplify this, take LCM 0.5, 5 minus 1 would be 4, or Q2, Q3 by 0.5, if I write it as 1 by 2, that will be 2 Q2, Q3 by pi epsilon naught. Okay, so this would be the change in potential energy. Now look at this question. If an electron is brought towards another electron, the electrostatic potential energy of the system. So let us assume this is one electron minus Q and minus Q. They are saying that these two electrons are brought close to each other. So let the distance between them be R. We will find out the potential energy of the system. It is K into minus Q into minus Q divided by distance, or U is equal to KQ square divided by R. Now observe this relation. How is U related to distance? Inversely, as distance between them decreases, potential energy would increase. So what should be the correct answer? The potential energy will increase. Okay, now coming to questions which are related to electrostatic potential and field. See, in this question, they are giving you that electrostatic potential varies according to the equation V is equal to 4x square, and then you are asked to find out electric field at 1, 0, 2, and distances are measured in terms of meters. So to begin with, we have already studied the relation between electric field and potential. Okay, so what is the relation between field and potential? E is equal to minus dV divided by dr. And since V is a function of x, we can write it as minus dV by dx. So differentiate this relation into I cap because I took x component if you want it in vector form. So differentiate the relation. Minus d by dx of 4x square would be minus of 4 is a constant. Differential of x square would be 2x into I cap. So you get the electric field as minus 8x into I cap. And now you can put the value of x at 1, 0, 2. So x value is 1. So electric field would be minus 8 I cap. I cap gives you direction, magnitude is 8. Minus I cap is the direction of electric field. Now coming to this question, this is also a question related to relation between electrostatic potential and field. Look at the equation for variation of potential. Potential is varying according to the relation V is equal to 20 by x square minus 4. But remember here x is measured in micrometer, not in meters. Now once you know that how potential is varying with distance, since V is a function of x, let's see how to find out the electric field. We know electric field is minus dV by dr. So here I'll write it as dV by dx into I cap because V is a varying with x, only x component. Now when I differentiate this relation, minus d by dx of 20 into x square minus 4 whole to the power minus 1 into I cap. 20 is anyway a constant, minus also remains outside, minus 20. Now differentiate this relation, x square minus 4 whole power minus 1 would be minus 1 x square minus 4 whole to the power n minus 1 into, again differential of x square will give you 2x, direction remains as I cap. So simplify it, minus of minus will become plus, 20 into 2x is 40x divided by x square minus 4 whole power 2 into I cap. Now you can put the value of x. They are asking you to find at a distance of 4 micrometer. So when you substitute the value of x, it is 40, x is 4, I will leave it in micrometers, divided by x square, 4 square is 16 minus 4, that is 12 whole square. Okay, so numerator we have micro, 10 power minus 6. Denominator is also in micro, micro square, 10 power minus 12. Simplify the relation, 160 by 12 into 12 micro Newton per coulomb. Direction is I cap. On further simplification, you can simplify it. Again 4 3s, 4 10s, your answer would be 10 by 9 I cap. Okay, it's already in micro Newton, answer is in micro. So this will give you electric field. So in this question, we are given that electrostatic potential varies according to the relation V is equal to minus 5x plus 3y plus root 15z. And then you need to find out the magnitude of electric field. And we already know the relation between electric field and electrostatic potential. E is equal to minus dV by dr. If you write it in 3-dimensional components, it would be minus of dou V by dou x into I cap plus dou V by dou y into j cap plus dou V by dou z into k cap. Now since v is given as minus 5x plus 3y plus root 15z, I'll find the value of dou v by dou x. So when you're doing the partial differentiation with respect to x, y and z are considered to be constants. So differential of this with respect to x is minus 5. Anyway, this term is 0 and a 0. Similarly, dou v by dou y, x is considered to be constant. Differential of a constant is 0. Differential of 3y is 3 plus 0. Then dou v by dou z, x and y are taken as constants. Differential of root 15z is under root 15. And once you know all these three values, I can write the electric field as minus of minus 5 I cap, because dou v by dou x is minus 5, plus 3 j cap plus root 15 k cap. And anyway, we need the magnitude of this vector. Find out the magnitude. It's under root 5 whole square plus minus 3 whole square plus minus root 15 whole square. That would be under root 25 plus 9 plus 15. It is square root of 49, which is 7 units. So this gives you the magnitude of electric field. So coming to this question, okay, your electric field is varying according to the relation E is equal to 30x square, and they're asking you to find VA minus VO, that means potential at A minus potential at O, where VO is the potential at origin and VA is the potential at x equal to 2 meter. So we know the relation because electric field here is again a function of x. We can write the relation between electric field and potential as E is equal to minus dV by dx, because E is only a function of x. Okay, now when I differentiate this, or if I write it as in terms of V, we get dV is equal to minus E dot dx. Okay, if I write it in vector form, that's I cap, or dV is equal to, now put the value of electric field, it is 30x square I cap, 30x square I cap dot dx I cap. I dot I will be 1. So dV is equal to minus 30x square into dx. And now I will integrate this relation from VO to VA. O is origin 0, 0, whereas VA is at x equal to 2, that is from 0 to 2, 0, y component is 0. Now you get VA minus VO equals to minus of 30 is a constant, integral of x square is x cubed by 3, and put the limits from 0 to 2, or we get VA minus V0 as minus 30 into 2 cube is 8 by 3, or VA minus VO would become minus 80 ohms. Okay, so this would be your answer. Okay, now coming to this question, it is said that potential is varying according to the relation minus x square y minus xz cube plus 4, and you need to find out the electric field at that particular point. And we know the relation between electric field and potential is E is equal to minus dV by dr. If I write it in x, y and z components, we know we have to go for partial differentiation. Now let us see how to differentiate this with respect to x. When you are differentiating the relation with respect to x, y and z are considered to be constants. Now come back. So dou v by dou x would be, y is taken as constant, so minus y. Differential of x square is 2x minus, this is minus, z cube is taken as constant, differential of x is 1, plus differential of 4 is anyway 0. Similarly, let's find dou v by dou y. Y is a constant. Sorry, this time we are differentiating with respect to y. x square is constant, minus x square, differential of y is 1, minus x and z are constants because we are differentiating with respect to y, 0 plus 0. Similarly, dou v by dou z, when you are differentiating with respect to z, x and y are constants, differential of these constants would be 0, minus x is a constant, differential of z cube is 3z square plus 0. So once you get all these three values, now you can find out the electric field vector as minus of dou v by dou x. Okay, we have got dou v by dou x as minus 2xy minus z cube. So I'll make it plus 2xy plus z cube into I cap, then minus dou v by dou y, again you have a minus sign, it becomes plus x square j cap. Now coming to the third term, here also we have a minus sign, plus 3z square x into k cap. So this will be your answer for electric field vector. Now look at this question. Here the electric field is a vector which is given as 25I plus 30J, and they are asking you to find potential at x equal to 2 meter, but make use of this if potential at origin is taken as 0. Now coming back to the relation between electric field and potential, we know E is equal to minus dV by dr. Since we need the potential, I will write dV equals to minus E dot dr, or dV is equal to minus E into dx I cap plus dyj plus dz k cap. Now write this value of electric field here. We get dV as minus of 25I plus 30J dot dxi plus dyj plus dz k cap. Okay, or dV would be equal to, take the dot product, minus 25 into dx minus 30 into dy. Now to get the answer, we have to integrate this relation, and while you are integrating this relation, you can use the limits. Potential at origin is taken as 0, and we want potential at x equal to 2, I'll write it as V. Limits are from 0, 0 to, they've asked you to find potential at x equal to 2. Okay, so the data is missing. Y is also given as equal to 2 meter. So the upper limit would be 2, 2. Or V minus, put the limits. Here I am writing V minus 0, upper limit minus lower limit, would be minus, I am writing outside. Integral of 25 into dx will be 25x plus integral of 30 into dy would be 30 into y. The limits are from 0, 0 to 2, 2. Or V is equal to, put the limits, minus of 25 into 2 is 50 plus 30 into 2 is 60. Anyway, other limit is 0. We get V as minus 110 volts. A charge Q is placed just outside an imaginary hemisphere. Okay, assume that this is a hemisphere and you have a charge Q, and the radius of this hemisphere is given as capital R, and you need to identify which of the statements are correct. So there are two questions in the statements. Total flux through the curved and flat surfaces Q by epsilon naught. Observe the diagram, charge is not inside the surface, so the net flux through the plane and curved surface would be 0. So for the answer for the first bit must be 0, but given as Q by epsilon naught, so this is a wrong statement. Come to the second one. Flux through the flat surface is Q by 2 epsilon naught, 1 minus 1 by root 2. Let's check. So if this is a point charge and this is your flat surface, we have already studied from Gauss law. If you have a cylinder at a distance, at some distance from a charge q, then the flux passing through it is given by q by 2 epsilon naught into 1 minus cos theta, where theta is this angle. Now let's find that angle. From charge to the center distance is r. Again, from charge till here we do not know the distance, but this distance is also given as r. If I call this angle as theta, observe this triangle. What is cos theta? Because r and r, hypotenuse will be root 2r. So from this, cos theta is 1 by root 2. When you substitute, flux through the flat surface would be q by 2 epsilon naught into 1 minus 1 by root 2. I repeat, this was the formula that we have studied in fluxes already. Flux through the flat surface is q by 2 epsilon naught into 1 minus 1 by root 2. And look at the second option. Second option, it's given already that flux through the flat surface is q by 2 epsilon naught into 1 minus 1 by root 2. So this is correct. Let's check the remaining. Circumference of a flat surface is equipotential. So if you observe this flat surface of a hemisphere, all the points on this flat surface are equidistant from q. Like if this is a circular portion and the charge is here, above it, all the points are at equal distance. Since distance is same, circumference of a flat surface is equipotential is also correct. And last, electric field is normal to the flat surface and is constant throughout. Let's check. If this is a charge and this is your flat surface, if I draw the field lines, this is how the field lines are distributed. And you will observe that it is not a uniform field. And since the field is not uniform, it is not constant throughout the flat surface. But since it's given as constant, so even this statement is wrong. So there are two statements which are correct, that is second and third.